are joined today by Representative Brad Roae. You are proposing legislation to decrease the number of gaming control board members. Why do you think a decrease is necessary?
Well, the board members all get $145,000 a year, so it costs $1 million a year to pay the board members, and that's a lot of money.
For those who may not know, what does the Gaming Control Board regulate?
Well, they regulate the casinos and gambling. Now, all the casino licenses were issued years ago, and the many casino licenses are pretty much wrapped up by now. They just do a little bit of housekeeping. They have to approve if there's a merger, if a company that's involved in gambling is merging with another company, or people can add themselves to the list to exclude themselves from the casinos if they have problems with gambling. They have to approve that. There's about 500 authorities, boards, and commissions within Pennsylvania government. And the Gaming Control Board is one of only a handful that actually pays members.
How many members are currently sitting on this board, and how many do you think there should be?
Well, there are 7 currently, and under my legislation, it would take it down to 5.
And you mentioned that they get paid a lot of money. Where does the money for their compensation come from?
Well, it comes from the money that's generated from the gambling. But if we didn't have that expense, there'd be more money available for the property tax relief that the casinos are supposed to be offering. And there's always a lot of talk about reducing the size of the legislature. I've always supported that effort. I've always voted for it. But we also have to look at reducing the size of government, especially when there are employees getting paid board members being paid $145,000 a year.
Have you spoken to and gotten feedback from the Gaming Control Board at all?
I have not. That is something I plan to do once we start, going back to Harrisburg. One thing that is interesting, I looked it up. Last year in 2024, the 12 monthly meetings of the Gaming Control Board added up to less than 21 hours of total meeting time. So if you looked at just the meeting time, that's about $7,000 an hour for each board member. Now, there's more work than that. You have to get ready for the board meetings. On any board, there's always members that are diligent about reviewing things and studying things before meetings. On any board, there's members that don't do anything other than just show up at the meeting. But it's outrageous that somebody would get $145,000 a year for 21 hours worth of public meetings. And one other way of doing it would be eliminate the salary altogether or lower the salary. But I think the most feasible way would be just reduce the number of board members.
Last question. What has the response been from your colleagues in the House?
There's about a dozen co-sponsors so far. Last session, I think I only had 9 co-sponsors. And now keep in mind, there is usually about 3 retired legislators on the Gaming Control Board. So a lot of legislators in the House and Senate both, they want to be on the Gaming Control Board when they leave the legislature so they can get $145,000 a year. So there's probably some people that might not want to support the legislation. I just think it's a good bill, and anywhere we can look to cut government spending, we should.
Representative Brad Roae, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.